Hi dear friends, today I will teach you degrees of comparison. In the last videos you learned adjective, kinds of adjectives and order of adjectives. Now let's turn to the next area of adjective, that is degrees of comparison. There are three types of degrees. They are positive, comparative and superlative. Let's learn what are they. See the chart. Positive degree, as plus adjective plus as. This means two nouns are equal. For example, as long as small as great as, etc. In comparative, more or less plus adjective plus than. More beautiful than, more fantastic than, more useful than. This means that the two nouns are comparing. In superlative, most or least plus adjective. For example, most brilliant, most beautiful, most useful. This means that the noun is most relevant. Let's see the examples which help you to understand easily. Here we are going to see the example of some popular actors. Amitabh Bachchan, Ranveer Singh and Ranveer Kapoor. You can see them on the screen. See, Amitabh Bachchan is taller than Ranveer Kapoor. You can see there, Ranveer Kapoor is taller than Ranveer Singh. Then Amitabh Bachchan is taller than Ranveer Singh. Bachchan is the tallest of the three actors. Can you see that? Okay, see the next example which will help you to understand it easily. Here are some popular cell phones. The iPhone, the Samsung S10 and the OnePlus. The iPhone is 70,000 rupees and the Samsung S10 is 50,000 rupees and the OnePlus is 40,000 rupees. Now, let's compare these phones using the adjective expensive. Again on the screen there are the few sentences. You can fill in the gaps, pause your video and you can do it. I hope you have finished. Let me read. The iPhone is more expensive than the Samsung S10. The Samsung S10 is more expensive than the OnePlus. The OnePlus is less expensive than the iPhone. The OnePlus is less expensive than the Samsung S10. Okay, nice. Then the OnePlus is the least expensive of three phones. Remember, I told you we could also use the positive degree as the form as plus adjective plus as. It means that nouns are equal. So let's say that the Note 20 Lite is also 70,000 rupees. That means the price of the iPhone and the Note 20 Lite are the same. So we can say the Note 20 Lite is as expensive as the iPhone. They are equal. So what kinds of mistakes you make with positive, comparative and superlative degrees? The mistakes occur when we use er, est or irregular forms of adjectives. With some adjectives, instead of saying more or most, we add the endings er or est. For example, we don't say cheap, more cheap or most cheap. We say cheap, cheaper, cheapest, big, bigger, biggest. Similarly, small, smaller, smallest, rich, richer, richest, poor, poorer, poorest, and so on. Some adjectives take the er, est forms, like big, bigger, biggest, or clean, cleaner, cleanest, cheap, cheaper, cheapest. But some adjectives take the more or most forms, like difficult, more difficult, most difficult, beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful, fantastic, more fantastic, and most fantastic. Okay, then some adjectives are called irregular because you cannot guess their comparative and superlative forms. For example, to compare using the adjective good, we don't say gooder and goodest. We say good, better and best. In the same way, do you know the comparative and superlative forms of bad? We don't say bad, bad or baddest, but we say bad, worse and worst. Remember that when you are using er form, don't put more before it and don't put most in front of the est form. Then children, it's possible to change the degree of comparison of an adjective in a sentence without changing the meaning of the sentence. See the example. Iron is more useful than copper. We know its comparative degree because more plus adjective. So let's change this into positive degree. When we change this sentence into positive degree, we have to use as plus adjective plus as. What is the adjective in the sentence? Useful. See this sentence, iron is as useful as copper. Here we use a positive degree as plus adjective plus as useful as. But is this sentence correct? Here is a mistake. What is the mistake? Did you notice? In the first sentence, we wrote iron is more useful than copper, right? But see the next one, iron is as useful as copper. Means iron and copper are equal. Are they equal? No. Here the meaning is changed. Iron is more useful than copper. So we have to change the degree of comparison of an adjective in a sentence without changing the meaning of the sentence. So we can say copper is not as useful as iron. We have to change this sentence without changing the meaning of the sentence. Okay. See the next one. Iron is as useful as copper. This is a positive degree. As plus adjective plus as. Let's change this into comparative degree. We can't say iron is more useful than copper. Okay, or copper is more useful than iron. Here we have to say copper is not more useful than iron. Then the meaning will be correct. See the next one. Raj is as tall as Rahul. That means both of them are equal. So we have to change this into comparative without changing the meaning of the sentence. So we have to say Rahul is not taller than Raj. That means Rahul and Raj both are equal. See the next example. Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. Here we used superlative degree because the est form of the adjective tall. So let's change this into comparative. Mount Everest is taller than what? Taller than what? Here we don't have any other mountain to compare with Mount Everest. So we can use here any other. So the answer is Mount Everest is taller than any other mountain in the world. Then let's turn to positive. Can we say Mount Everest is as tall as any other mountain is there to compare? No, because we can't make it as equal to any other mountain. So we have to use no other instead of any other. And begin the sentence with no other in the positive degree. See the sentence. No other mountain in the world is as tall as Mount Everest. See the next one. Krish is the cleverest boy in the class. Can you say the comparative and positive degree of this sentence? Pause the video if you want and try to say. Yes. Did you get it? Check your answer. Krish is cleverer than any other boy in the class. It's comparative. Then positive is no other boy in the class is as clever as Krish. In positive, use clever. In comparative, use cleverer. And in the superlative, we use the cleverest. Remember, in front of the superlative degree, use the article the. Let's do an exercise. Pause your video and read the questions and do it accordingly. Change the degree of comparison without changing the meaning of the sentences. Check your answers. Delhi is the largest city in India. It's superlative degree. Delhi is larger than any other city in India. That is comparative. Then see the positive. No other city in India is as large as Delhi. That is the positive degree. See the next one. Iron is the most useful of all metals. Iron is more useful than any other metal. No other metal is as useful as iron. Okay, see the last one. No other metal is as heavy as lead. This is a positive degree. Then let's change this into comparative and superlative. Lead is the heaviest metal. That is superlative degree. Lead is heavier than any other metal. That is comparative degree. Okay, fantastic. Let's do a tricky question. Ashoka was one of the greatest of Indian kings. You know, this is a superlative degree because the est form of the adjective great. Here we use one of the greatest. That means there are other Indian kings as great as him. So have to write the comparative form. Or if we use one of the in superlative degree, use most other in comparative and very few in positive. See the answers. Ashoka was greater than most other Indian kings. This is a comparative degree. We used here most other because there are other great kings as Ashoka. Okay. And the positive is very few Indian kings were as great as Ashoka. Okay. So in the comparative we used most other. In the positive we used very few. Here we used were instead of was. In the positive degree, very few Indian kings were because the subject is Indian kings, it's plural. In the above two sentences, we use was because the subject was Ashoka, it's singular. Don't forget it. See some more example sentences. The Taj Mahal is one of the most famous of Indian monuments. It is the superlative degree. The Taj Mahal is more famous than most other Indian monuments. That is comparative most other. Very few Indian monuments are as famous as Taj Mahal. That is positive degree. Next one. Virat is one of the best batsmen in the world. Virat is better than most other batsmen in the world. Better is the comparative form of best. Okay. Very few batsmen in the world are because here the subject is very few batsmen. In the above two sentences, the subjects are Virat. Here very few Indian batsmen. So very few Indian batsmen in the world are as good as Virat. So dear friends, I hope you have understood. Let's do some exercises which help you to understand thoroughly. Read the questions given and do it yourself. Pause your video. Okay, check your answers. Hope all of you have got correct answers. Fantastic. Congratulations. Thank you. See you in the next class.